There's a lot we have to improve on. There's too many plays in our backfield for one. We had 10 tackles in our backfield in the game. Some of them were runs, some of them weren't. But it starts with being aggressive. And I think at times you try to be too perfect and you got to get your O-line, your tight ends, your running backs all in sync. And there were some things that we did well. I thought our outside run game had some positive plays. Our inside run game, not so much. And we knew Tennessee's D tackles were going to be a handful. And those guys were really good players too. That was part of it. We just didn't stay on people long enough. There was too much penetration, and they did a lot of blitzing inside and mixed it up. So I think it's a combination of things, but it comes down to execution and my history with running the football. It starts with your guys, your 5 guys up front playing together and playing aggressive and getting vertical, and we're too lateral at times. And some of that's because of all the things we're getting, but some of that's just us trying to be perfect. And we guys got to get back to the basics with the run game and look forward to seeing that happen.
And I just wanted to follow up. Hollywood got some extra work in this game. Just your thoughts seeing him now after a couple games as well.
Yeah, and we have 3 backs that we trust. And, it's like anything. He started to have some positive things happen on the field. And so, when that happens, you're going to continue to see guys, hot hand, I guess you would say. But, he did some good things. He loves football. He works really hard. He has good practice habits. And, between Jordan and him and Kendrick, we feel like we have 3 backs that we can play.
Thanks, Dave.
Corey?
Dave, you mentioned, the reaction from the players briefly, but what have you seen from the players and the coaching staff over the last, 48 hours since the game?
What you always see after a game that you don't play well in, you see a lot of guys upset. You see a lot of guys ready to get back to work. There's lots of conversations about how we can do that. This is a group that, has some good leadership in it. This team has a lot of guys that understand what we need to do. And it's not like we haven't faced adversity before. So there wasn't a lot of panic in there. It's just, we know we're better than that. Let's look at the film. Let's see what we got to do better, and let's get back to it.
And as a follow-up to that, who have been some of those guys that have stepped up? Obviously, several of them were on the team last year and saw what could happen when you show that leadership as well.
Yeah, you have returners, obviously, Davin Van, Sean Brown, Devin Betty, guys speaking up on defense. It's good to hear Grayson, Jordan Waters talk on offense and give their perspective. Our leadership council has a lot of strong leadership in it. And so some of it is vocal, some of it is more intentional about what they do when they're here. But there was a lot of guys that got up and talked about, things they've been through, how to overcome adversity and sticking together more than anything, because the way things are anymore, you're only as good as your last game. And so, there's a lot of overcoming the outside noise in college athletics. And so for them to understand that, stick together and get back to it.
Thank you.
Jaden?
Yeah, Dave, last week you talked about the importance of, building habits, building muscle memory in football, and you felt like practice went well last week. Are there any specific things that you can point to as to why that execution just wasn't necessarily there?
Yeah, we did practice well, we did. And there's a couple things, you played a really good football team in Tennessee. And so your margin for error is very small. And I've said this a million times, football plays are designed for 11 guys to do things right. And there was just too many plays where that didn't happen. And we were in that game, like I said, it's 10-3 and we're knocking on the door to make it a tie going in at the half. And it went the other direction. And when that happened, we got away from 11-man football. You started seeing guys try to do more than they need to do, and it wasn't good enough, and we've got to do a better job, obviously, of handling situations like that. And so it was a great learning experience for the team, not one that's fun to go through at all. But it wasn't a result of us not practicing well. I think in the heat of the moment, just some things didn't go the way we wanted it to, and guys strained the wrong way You know, sometimes you try to do too much instead of just doing what you're coached to do within the system.
Aaron,
Dave, I wanted to ask you sort of a two-parter. One, you've had experience now bringing in quarterbacks from the portal. I'm curious how you would describe the challenge of maybe taking someone who is experienced but inexperienced elsewhere as opposed to your system and bringing them in and integrating them and getting them ready to go right from the start. And then sort of secondly, how you would evaluate how Grayson's done so far.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of quarterbacks transfer here, and so we've dealt with this multiple occasions. One with Grayson, you know, we feel great about Grayson, you know, and he's a really good player. He's a good leader. He's hard on himself. He was motivated to play better. He owns everything that he can do, and he's devout about going about his business the right way, respecting his teammates, doing his job. And so things didn't go his way the other night. You know, there's definitely plays he wishes he had back. We can protect better for him as well. But I'm excited about Grayson McCall. He's our guy, and he's going to rebound well. But I've been through this with Jacoby Brissett, been through this with Ryan Finley, been through this with a lot of transfer quarterbacks, you know, and Brennan last year. And sometimes it's seamless, sometimes it takes a while. And the thing that is different about college football more than ever is there's a lot of new parts on these fields. And, you know, I think the guys from a chemistry standpoint off the field are really good. You're still trying to get that chemistry on the field in games, you know, and you can practice. Is still not the game. It's not. And the things that happen, you know, with the crowd noise, with the officiating and all the things that happen, game days are different. And so these guys are going to continue to grow and get better. And I think one thing we've done over time that people know, we're going to improve as this season goes on. And we got a lot of new guys on that football field, you know, and so they've got to all do their part.
Noah,
Kind of going off of that, what have you learned, when using a lot of new faces and transfers and kind of being able to get them to mesh? What have you learned over your time to kind of work through, I guess, the early season things that don't go well?
You just have to have communication, you know, you have to have open meetings with guys. You got to talk to your players. You know, I know these guys off the field, like we've done a lot with that. But like I said, I've only coached them in 2 games, you know, and so you're learning some of the things about them on game day. There's a lot of training that existed previously with other places they've been, and some of that was really good, and some of that doesn't fit here, you know, and so you're having to change some of those things. But it's a growing process. Man, it's one I enjoy. You know, I enjoy helping these guys, but it is different, you know. I mean, having that many new people, it's different. And so you just have to be open to it being different. And it's not just an iron fist. Like there's got to be communication. There's got to be understanding on both sides.
Ethan,
Hey, Coach. I know you mentioned earlier that the team is healthy coming out of this game, but I know Zeke Corral had to leave the game early. So just wanted to make sure he's feeling all right and good to go for this week.
Yeah, like I said, we came out of the game healthy.
James,
Dave, I wanted to ask you about the legal formation on Belton. I know looked like there's an emphasis on that, certainly on the next level. Has that been something that's been passed on to you guys and maybe what you saw watching it back?
Yeah, he was in the backfield. You know, I mean, as an offensive lineman, you've got to have your helmet at least break the plane of the center's belt in his stance. And he was in a proper stance. He adjusted his stance 3 different times. And each time he backed up a little bit. So he's got to correct that. He knows that, and he will.
Ethan, did you have another?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about Jahad Carter. It was your first time to see him, and you had 8 tackles, I think, without a missed attempt, at least according to PFF. Just wondering how you would evaluate his performance in a pack uniform.
Yeah, it was good to see him out there. He gave up one down the field throw, one that I know he'd like to have back. And other than that, I thought he played pretty good. You know, he was in the right places. He shows his contact skills. He gets off blocks. He plays fast. He's a good communicator. And so it was great to get him out there. And I know he'll only get better with reps.